Well, you will know, of course, how big one of the biggest problems that we have in our country is youth unemployment. There are so many millions of people, mainly young people, who do not have jobs. After the pandemic, we know that more than half, in fact, a lot more than half of young people are not in jobs and not able to get jobs. So what's it like? How difficult is that? Let's hear now from two people who are working with young people who are unemployed. Dwaine Fish is the program coordinator at Enke and a volunteer at My Voice. Kananelo Khoetsa is a youth activist at Youth Capital. Good afternoon to you both, and thank you very much indeed for your time. Kananelo, let me start with you. When you speak to young people who can't find jobs, how do they feel about the situation that they're in?
I think young people actually feel scared. You know, I think the most prominent emotion that is there is fear. Fear that when will this end? Am I even going to get a job? I think that is the most prominent feeling that they have.
It seems in a way, and one of the worst things about this must be that it doesn't seem that it's going to get better. That's really the problem.
Yes. Because honestly, especially with the statistics continuously going up, continuously rising, and there being little to no opportunities available, I think, yes, we are worried as a whole, generally, that is this even going to end anytime soon? And again, there's also the time that you're not going to be young forever, right? So by the time that maybe opportunities arise, you won't be within the youth bracket anymore. You know, so it's just really just fear, anxiety, anticipation, and in some extreme cases, even depression.
Dwaine, do you come across the same thing, the same feeling, that same, I suppose the word might be despondency, the same fear for the future?
Yes, I think exactly that is that people, so young people can't really think about a future at this stage, and they just engage, and a lot of time young people doesn't feel included. I think especially when it comes to employment opportunities from the public sector, for example.
The idea of being excluded, that's an awful thing to feel, that no one in society cares about you.
Yes, I think that young people in many ways who could really not feel like they've been included even in decisions about their future and even on decisions that impact them. So there's a disconnection where our government who talk about opportunities but not involve young people. So they talk about problems that young people are facing, especially unemployment, but they don't include young people in those conversations.
So, Kananelo, if young people were included in those conversations, is it possible to know what they might say? I suppose, one of the things they might just say is, do something about it.
I suppose that could be some of the things that they raise, but I think more than ever they could actually even raise their lived experiences, because I feel like lived experiences are things that are really not included in the conversations, right? Because my lived experience is not the same as that of Dwaine, right? But then at the end of the day, there are similarities, such as the cost of job seeking, resources. And even in your peri-urban and rural areas, problems with network, problems with connectivity. These are challenges that we are currently facing, right? Being barred from job opportunities because of experience, where we are not even certified. You understand, we are experiencing a varied group of challenges. And I think more than ever, we need to be included in these conversations so that these solutions that are presented to actually aid us actually do aid our challenges, as opposed to what people believe are our challenges.
Dwaine, one of the things that I wonder about, so I come from a generation, I'm a generation, maybe 2 generations older than both of you. And I think that perhaps my generation has failed your generation. How do you see it? Is it older people who failed you? They failed to create a situation in which people of your generation are able to get jobs?
I think, yeah, it's also the issue of ageism, right? So they feel this disconnection that young people aren't able to lead. They always talk about young people are the leaders of the future. And I believe that the future is now, and young people are able to lead now. So, and also older people doesn't really give a platform for young people. A lot of times you'll hear conversations about young people don't want to access these spaces, but the thing is, they don't create space for us at the table, of decision making, of creating problems. So you get a lot of time that older people will talk about issues that we are facing, and how do they come up with solutions. So they don't make us part of the problem solving and part of creating these solutions that young people are needing. So in a sense of it all is that older people don't give us really that access to then create all the solutions for ourselves.
I mean, Kananelo, do you see it in the same way? I mean, it's so, I find it so interesting because, I mean, you know, some people in government say the problem is that young people, you know, we're going to teach young people entrepreneurship. I mean, I wasn't taught entrepreneurship. I just grew up in a time when there were jobs for me to get my start. And I don't know if government really understands how difficult it is to be young now compared to how difficult it was for other people to be young in their time.
I also believe that. I strongly believe that too. And I believe that, again, not including young people in conversations lead to people actually making presumptions about our challenges and even defining our struggles for us and even telling us that we are lazy, that we feel entitled. You know, these are things that are usually thrown around, especially when speaking about young people, right? But I feel like the older generations, I wouldn't say they failed us. I feel like it is the system that is failing us. Because I feel like even my parent right now, she is not even in a position where she can actually even retire, because at the end of the day, she still has to take care of me too, right? So it's not even just about them failing us. It is the system. It is a very systematic issue, I believe.
Dwaine, I mean, do you blame government? Do you think it's government's failure? Do you blame the private sector? Do you blame someone else? Or is it just what life is?
I think if you look at it, there's like different layers to it. We wouldn't really want to point the finger, but we also have to take responsibility as young people. But then if I have to make the link between it, is like a lot of time when you hear news that's coming out about youth unemployment, we always talk about the economy, entrepreneurship, there's no jobs, how do we create? But we seldom talk about the issue that cadre deployment also has a direct impact on the high rates in youth unemployment, corruption, you know, especially in the public space. So the things that are happening there also have a direct impact. We have to start making the links between the corruption going on, the nepotism, the cadre deployment, that those things also link to young people not finding jobs. And having access to the public is like starting point for young people to start their careers, but it doesn't happen because of those issues that are happening.
Kananelo, you mentioned earlier on, you know, depression, and I've spoken to, I mean, he's a very young professor of economics at Fort Hare University, and he's studied this. He's suggested that this really leads to depression. And I mean, to be young, I mean, to suffer from depression is a very difficult thing for anyone. But in a way, you know, I think we have this idea that young people should be optimistic and cheerful, and they've got a future to look forward to. To have people who are already depressed at that age because they can't find a job really suggests we have a serious problem.
It honestly does. I honestly believe it does, because I feel like even I, as a job seeker myself, every now and then I come to a time where I'm just so frustrated, right? And at that time, you even come to a point where you actually even come to a point where you slowly abandon your dreams, understanding that, okay, that is not really achievable at this point in time. So you settle and you continue settling and you continue settling. And these are things that also even have you questioning yourself, because at the end of the day, if you are not involved, like Dwaine and I, in other organizations, you can actually feel very lonely. You feel very lonely because you don't even know that there's another person out there who is even going through the very same challenges that you're going through. So it is a very, very, very lonely place, especially with family. And then, I mean, I'm old. I am at a point where I'm supposed to be independent, but here I am still depending on my mother, even for the basic of basic necessities. It is also embarrassing. It's a lot. It is honestly a lot.
It's something, I mean, this is happening in other countries too. I mean, it's worse here. There's no doubt about it. But it happens in other countries too. I want to ask both of you the same question, and Dwaine, I'll ask you first. Is there any reason that you have that you think it's going to stay the same, or any reason that you think it is going to get better one day?
I think it's gonna get better, because then we ask the question of like, do we have a plan? And in that we can look at what civic organizations do, especially for young people, that it's creating that platform for young people to lead. If you look at a lot of civic organizations that I'm involved with, youth organizations, is that young people actually are program leads, they are program coordinators, and they are believed to lead this project. In that platform, you can see young people excel. Like, for example, at an organization where I am at NCAM, is like the team are working with youth issues, and majority of the team are under the bracket of 35, and you see the energy and the capability of these people. So I think it has the potential to change if young people continue to, create these things and have access into organizations where they can grow and amplify their voice, like Youth Capital. And also the action plan that Youth Capital have is like a direction for young people. It's more like a guide in terms of how do you address these issues, and just to be like, we should really take responsibility of it. And in that way, I believe if we take responsibility as young people, then change is possible.
Kananelo, is it going to get better?
I'm not gonna lie, but I hope. I mean, I have to hope, right? I cannot not hope. But I think it is really going to get better so long as everybody comes to the table, right? I mean, all varied stakeholders. Because at the end of the day, like Dwaine says, you can actually join an organization, but your experience won't matter. And that is something also Youth Capital advocates for, that make all experience matters. Because I, for one, I have been volunteering, right? I have numerous experiences of volunteer. I have joined leadership programs, but this is experience that is not even considered when seeking employment. Again, there's the matter of certification. There are thousands of learners, of students and of graduates that are certified, right, because of probably loans such as myself. So there's a lot of challenges that we are currently faced with, and I think all stakeholders need to come to the table and actually even discuss and actually say, okay, we will help you like this, but we have to make it easier for us, for young people to enter the job market.
Kananelo, Khoetsa and Dwaine Fish, thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate your insights into this. It's an incredibly difficult conversation that we have all the time we continue having. I really do appreciate your contribution. Thank you very much indeed.